Hi, and welcome to Whole Soul School and Foundations Mind, Body, Spirit, Fitness podcast series. I'm Marie Mohler. I'm an author and an intuitive and a messenger of the rising hero's journey within. And I'm here today with Jonathan William, who's joining me to talk about his book and his insights and his tools for transformation and alchemy. Thank you for joining me, Jonathan. I'm so grateful.
It's wonderful to be back, Marie. Thank you for always thinking of me for these podcasts. Yeah, it's great to be back.
Well, and I want to share with our listeners, this is Jonathan's book, Pyramid of Presence. And I want to just share a little bit about you. You have a BA in history from Plattsburgh State, where you developed your passion for writing, researching, and public speaking. And you draw inspiration from nature. And you're an avid hiker, cyclist, and kayaker. You're a Reiki master and the founder of the FAST system of healing, which I know as we continue in this podcast series together, because this won't be the one and only, we will have more conversations because there's so much that I know that you know about and that you're here to share with people and our audience and listeners at this time, people who are on the hero's journey, people who are seeking change and transformation in their lives. So, but you're the founder of the FAST system of healing, and you're a dedicated mentor who provides support to assist people in cultivating a relationship with their multidimensional self and truly their I am presence. And this is his book, Pyramid of Presence. And we're going to be speaking about some of the insights and the tools that you share and you talk about in such a beautiful way in this book. And I know that we're here right now in this conversation to seed in our listeners' awareness some of these tools and these understandings from your work. And I'd love to maybe start by having you share a little bit about what was your journey that led you to uncover these pyramids of presence, right? And to publish this book.
Yeah, I feel like we're each on a journey of self-discovery, self-actualization. And we get to a point in our lives where we, decide to stop being a passenger and decide to be a creator once again, and to really find out these inner truths about yourself that can change your outer world, like an inner knowing of yourself, these immortal truths about yourself that you can discover by implementing certain tools, alchemy practices, meditations, verbal communication, all these things that you can combine that help to mold and to open you up to an inner world, which is a vast, what I like to call estate of the divine. It's a vast storehouse of who you are and your immensity, right? And not to just have to go through life in a daily grind, from point A to point B, but you can walk with your presence every day by opening yourself up to that possibility. And that's what I did. I got to a point where I said, you throw your hands up maybe multiple times and you say, God, source, creator, show me the truth, show me more, show me who I am, give me these divine insights, these divine downloads. And that's what happened. I trusted in the process. These insights came. I started translating, it's a translation that's like immediate. I started writing down these words and I started forming this poetry. And this poetry took me to a very deep place because each word has a book within each word. You could write volumes about each word, like the word flame. You could write a volume on that. Life, you could write a volume on that. And the poetry just started speaking to me in this way that I never knew was there before. So I invite you to open yourself up and really ask and be open to knowing more about yourself, because it's a rich tapestry.
It is a rich tapestry. And I know I saw in the first few pages in your book, you asked the question, who am I? Right? Which is a powerful question, a loaded question, really,
Yes.
because you are asking for the more. You're asking to know more of who you really are when you ask that question. And it begins this process of discovery. right? That is a
Yeah.
journey that we're all on, is this journey of discovering more of who we are, more of our abilities, that infinite presence, and the gifts that we bring to the world to touch others' lives, but to also live a rich and full life ourselves, right? And when we are the passenger versus the driver or the creator, it's a whole different experience, and it's a whole different lens of perception that you're living through when you are the passenger versus stepping into that role as the conscious creator of your life. And it's quite a journey to uncover this language. It's quite a journey to open up to the asking and open up to the listening for the receiving, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a process. It's a multi-step process that it's not complicated, but when you ask, there is a level of trust, a level of faith that you have to enter, a level of silence, um, and a level of allowance, right? I call this active surrender, right? You're not just surrendering to the chaos of the world and letting yourself be the product of whatever the outer world is throwing at you. You're being an active participant in a larger divine orchestration. And when you ask yourself these questions, who am I? What is my relationship with creatorship? Which I ask people, what's your relationship with creatorship?
Mm.
Are you intentionally setting your life in the direction that your I am presence desires for you? Because when you look to your presence for the answers, when you look to the Holy Spirit for the answers, you're going to always get truth. If you were to ask, who am I? What is my relationship with creatorship to people in the outer world? They're not going to give you that answer that you're really looking for.
Mm.
I mean, they mirror your experience, your inner experience. They'll validate certain certain steps in your life that you're taking to better yourself. You'll see it mirrored in your outer world. But if you were to just go to a person and say, who am I? They'll probably give you a label of, what you do, your occupation, or what you look like, how you dress, how you act, what you eat. And we know that there are deeper truths of who you are than these physical things that define you.
Right. And yet it is that process of uncovering that by the question asking, that inquiry, that getting really curious, of wanting to look a little deeper versus just the surface level of living that, we all are born into this world. We come in as like glowing, amazing, soul presence and being. And then through time, early in our childhoods, we go through a conditioning process, right? Messages from our families and the world around us, and we go through a process in a way of forgetting what we already are, of forgetting what we already were, and we start to adopt these things that you might, just what you described, our identity, and our personality traits and things that people expect from us. But the truth is that the am I, the I am presence, is an enduring, timeless essence inside us that many people, whether they know it or not, they're craving a reconnection. They're craving this reunion. But often it's a catalyst in some of our lives, something that sparks a deep need to connect at this deeper level, because we can't get the answers from our everyday lives and the sources we used to go to for the reflections and the insight and the answers, right? When you can't get the answers from the regular world around you, you start to look deeper. And I think some people are in that process who would be listening to a podcast like this, who are looking deeper, seeking deeper on that quest and that journey of transformation. And there's some people who don't even know yet that they're asking, but they might stumble into a podcast and say, what should I be asking, right? What is this presence that they're talking about? And maybe that's another thing I'd like to connect about. And I know we're going to at least name the pyramids of presence. We might delve into the first one and have some time for that today. But in the spirit of mind, body, spirit, fitness, That's one of our podcast categories here for Good Vibes Broadcasting and Whole Soul School and Foundation. And it's like an essential foundational podcast vibration and energy and consciousness, because oftentimes people, we know about physical fitness, right? We know about people focusing on their physical bodies being strong. And a lot of people spend a lot of time, they prioritize that in their life, what they eat, how much they exercise, their physical fitness. But we often don't really pay attention to our mental fitness, right? The mind aspects of it, and what are our thoughts, and really learning the language of how we're perceiving, and then the spiritual realms. And everything that we're talking about ties into that mind, body, spirit, fitness concept and kind of energetic paradigm. And when we're talking about presence in this conversation, presence is a huge part of mind, body, spirit, fitness, because if you're not connected with your presence, what are you connected with, right? And people have said, I've heard the expression, people living kind of from the neck up, right? When we're living more heady, way up here in our mental minds, but we're not living in balance and in where that you get the mind communicating with the heart, which communicates with the spirit, and all that is communicating with the body. This is part of that fitness, that holistic fitness. And the presence is a deep part of that, but sometimes it's kind of a layer deeper in people's consciousness because they're so busy in their lives. They're not nurturing their spirit. They're not nurturing that presence inside them. And oftentimes at some point you will see challenges. You will see some kind of challenge present itself, because it's like we become software that's lost connection with our hardware, or maybe vice versa. We're not getting those inner, deeper directives and that guidance from the higher aspects of us, which is, to me, I'll say for me, the presence is this enduring, timeless essence of our divinity inside us. It's a place of grace as well. That's what I feel when I feel presence. It's a place of grace inside me, and grace is eternal and infinite. And what would you say presence is for you?
Yeah, presence is absolutely grace, life, living essence, flowing. It's it can be, like you said, it can be something that we kind of have a difficult time connecting with because it is quite elusive. We speak about spirit, we speak about presence. They're not really things that you can put your finger on until you develop the language for doing so, or you get these inspirations, you get these downloads, these words that you write out, and then you start saying, oh, these words, this is defining more of who I am. These words are putting these puzzle pieces together, and oh, the flames of life, are presence, right? And these 8 pyramids of presence are each an energy on their own. They're each a passageway that you could walk through that carry these different characteristics of your I am presence, which, in simplicity, your I am presence is your connection to God, to one, to the one, to source, where we all are. So that's your immutable, immortal connection to all.
Right. And it's through our connection with that presence and learning the language and cultivating some tools, some spiritual practices even, right, that help us more consciously participate in our own transformation and our own, that's what we call alchemy, right? And that's another word that I'd love to bring into this conversation. How do you define alchemy? Like, how do you understand alchemy?
Alchemy is self-transformation.
Mm.
Alchemy is participating in these immortal aspects of ourselves, participating in things that we can't see necessarily, that we can't quite define, but we can ascribe a language to them. We could ascribe an image to them, right? So when I walk people through the pyramids of presence, each flame of creation, which is pure alchemy itself, carries a certain characteristic that creates a shift within your life when you align your words, your actions, your image of the colors that are, you know, ascribed to the different flames. So you're using all these what I call tools of creation that that help you progress along your path.
Mm. And I know for myself, it was very empowering when I did start to acquire some tools in my journey. Because before I wasn't aware of myself as a conscious creator, right? I
Yeah.
always had passion, and I had projects, and I had things that I was always in. I was very active in my life, but I wasn't conscious in my life at that time. Not until I had a catalyzing experience that got my attention. And so when we realize there are actually, we don't go on the hero's journey with no tools, right? The whole journey is acquiring these tools, learning these tools, stepping into the practice of alchemy, and understanding that you are going to be going through experiences of change and transformation. And we're going from one version of ourselves into a new version of ourselves. And what I love about the journey of life is that it isn't once and done. It's not like you cross a bridge from point A to point B and now you're in point B and that's it. In the hero's journey, we go deeper. We might go around a story arc this way, and then we'll go deeper into that story arc again. And we learn things about ourselves, like we're continuously growing and changing and evolving and alchemizing all kinds of experiences. And so we have things, people listening, I know, are curious about, well, how do you heal something, a trauma from your past and those kinds of things. And then there's also the conscious creation of things you want more of, right? So we're trying to release the things that take us into a lower vibrational state, and cause us pain or suffering or discomfort in some way. And then we're also alchemizing our lives into empowering ourselves to be these conscious creators. And it is a process. I mean, that's what I love when Joseph Campbell came up with the term, the hero's journey, to summarize all of these aspects and traits of many heroes that had gone before us that he synthesized through the literature. The hero's journey, in those 3 words, it seems like 3 simple little words, but it's a massive, massive concept. And it's an incredible energy that people, all of us, find ourselves in this journey. We can, you know, you and I in our spiritual language might call this the ascension process, right? We're rising to become more of who we're truly meant to be. For people who don't have as much of that spiritual language, the hero's journey can connect with them, right? We're all in a journey to discover more of who I am, who am I, and what are my gifts? What's my purpose? Why am I here? And then when you start asking those questions and you go on the journey, inevitably in the journey of transformation, things that are uncomfortable at times come up, right? You know, we're looking for the joy, we're looking for all the good stuff, but oftentimes too, what comes up are the things that is more of a pain point for us, that might have served as a block to our growth in the past that we just couldn't get beyond. And what's so valuable about the work that you bring, Jonathan, just one of the things is that you give people this language for that process. You've given them pyramids of presence, which is identifiable, you know, doorways into different levels of consciousness and different tools they can have as they move through those gateways inside themselves to fortify themselves, so that we don't feel alone in the journey. And you start to realize you have everything inside you that you need for whatever journey that you're on. And that's a big shift, isn't it? From I have to look outside myself to other people and experts and mirrors in my life that will give me the answers. You start to realize that whatever the answers you seek are somehow inside you, even if they're in the form of the question that you didn't think to ask, but now you're asking those questions, which draws into your experiences more of the things that you're looking for to get the answers. And the answers are really part of the growth. It's really, we're looking for the experience of growth versus just answers, right? And that's what also lifts off the page in the
Yeah,
journey.
we're looking for this growth in our everyday life. Like you can measure growth in increments as you go along your journey. And then you get to a point where growth becomes more expansion. Growth grows into this more of an expansive consciousness where all of these increments get you to a point where now you're expanded to a point where you've never been before, and things, you start to get more comfortable with the language, with these tools of creation, with working with the sacred flames, and you get to a point where, yeah, you start to expand and you start to garner and gather this momentum. Like you're building by your daily devotion, by your daily asking and praying and aligning and meditation. You are creating a momentum in your life that once you get that snowball rolling, it might take a lot of effort in the beginning. You start to gather this snow up. You have to put it together into a ball. You start to push it. The snow in front of you may be a little soggy. It may be hard to gather, but when you get to a point on the hill, you're able to like take your hands off and say, the snowball's rolling, it's in God's hands now. Just let it roll. It's gathered its momentum. I've put in the work. And then you can see the manifestations in front of you.
Right. And you begin to experience, and I know this is in our wheelhouse, this is part of our language, but you start accessing more of the universal principles and energies of co-creation, right? Where we're co-creating with the living energy. It's my belief that this is a living universe, right? There's living energy in our world. And when you can tap into that, and that point that alchemizes, and when you're growing at that place, when you activate this kind of magic in your life, that's when the universe is like, you've already set the intentions, you've added the energy into it, you've put in the time to connect with this frequency and this desire that you're having, whatever it might be. But it's like then the universe, it meets you there. And that's when the connection is made, that snowball does get rolling. And this is part of what I think many people are craving, all that we've talked about so far already. This mind, body, spirit, fitness, connecting with the I am presence, these stages of growth, the alchemy that is with us all along the way in the process, remembering that we have everything we need inside us, but you don't have that memory, you don't have that experience unless you step onto the journey. And I think that's also what your 8 pyramids of presence are about, to give people some foundational stepping stones in the journey so that they can feel supported, and they can feel like, there are these tools and I do have backup. There is this, the cosmos and this living universe will support me if I step up with courage and faith with these practices. So
it gets you going. It gets you, like you said, it gets you on that first step, because you only need to take a few steps. You really, like, you don't need to devote your entire day. You take the first step. You do the first practice. You do the guided meditation in the first pyramid. You ask questions. You're open to working with ascended masters. For instance, you're working with the blue flame in the Ask pyramid. You're working with ascended master El Mordia. You're working with archangels Michael and Faith, and Elohim, Hercules and Amazonia. So you're working with ascended masters, you're working with angels, Elohim. You're starting to develop a relationship and say, there's these cosmic beings that desire for me to have this momentum. They're going to add onto my momentum their victory, right? They've ascended. They've had their victory. They've walked the journey. They're there to help us. And all you really have to do is ask. And so what I do, why I laid this out for people in the way I did, was it gets you moving from step to step, right? It takes the guesswork out of what's my next step, right? You walk through, you do the guided meditations, you work with the sacred flame in each pyramid. You get to know the energy, you get to work with the energy, feel the energy, be comfortable with it, and then that momentum that you're working with, it just increases exponentially.
yes, and that momentum is a great ally too in the journey, right? Because once you set that in motion, especially if you can do it in some way consciously, where you know that you're asking for help and support, then you're ready to be propelled forward, right? Because I think there's a point in which either stagnancy, where we're not moving at all, or where we're blocked in some way and we're in some kind of pain, we're ready for movement. And there is that point of readiness. So maybe what I'd like to do is have you name the 8 pyramids of presence, so that we give people, the beginning seeds of the language of the work you do. And then, after that, we can focus in a little bit maybe on the first one and talk a little bit more about that one, so people can dip their toes in the waters with this too.
Yeah, the first one allows you to dip your toes in the water, and it gets you started on that journey. So the 8 pyramids of presence are ask, be, open, surrender, clean, shift, expand, and extend. So these take you on a very, very powerful journey from basically start to finish. But like we talked about before, the 8 flames of infinity, if you think about the infinity symbol, it's not a linear from beginning to end, start to finish. You're going like this,
right?
And as you do that, you're picking up momentum, you're picking up speed, and then you're connecting with the divine beings, ascended masters, angels. So you're gathering that momentum in each flame. So yes, the first pyramid is ask, where you're working with the blue flame of God's holy will. You're connecting with the Holy Spirit, because I believe when you connect with the Holy Spirit, you're going to be delivered truth. You're not going to be delivered, confusion. You're asking in earnest, in faith, you're asking the Holy Spirit to show you what is truthful. And in the first pyramid, the affirmation is, I am truth. Each pyramid has an affirmation that pertains to an energy, right? So I am truth is at your throat chakra. This is where you hold the pyramid here at your throat. You're connecting with, there's this little U shape or a V shape here. So there's these energetic points where you connect to, where you're feeling that chakra, you're feeling that throat chakra, you're working with the blue flame. So you're visualizing the blue flame here, and you're working with spoken word, visualization, and getting help from the ascended masters. So the quote for the first pyramid that I have here is, a curious one asks many questions of the world. A wise one asks of God to be shown only what is truthful. So it starts to get you in that frame of mind where, what we spoke about before, where are you asking to be shown truth? Are you asking the outer world to show you what is true, or are you going into the heart, your source, right? Your estate is what I love, that word estate, because it's like grandness. Estate has gardens and flowers and rich beauty. So when you go to the estate and when you ask the Holy Spirit, you begin to get these insights. And I invite you to, as you're walking through, always have a pen and paper with you. Always have, if you don't have a pen and paper, I did this on my phone a lot, Google Docs, and things where I always took notes. I put a little caption like, this is the energy, or this is what I'm working with today. And then I would just let the insights come, write them out. And I invite you to, as you go through the pyramids, you're following it step by step. Write out your own affirmations, write out your own poetry that comes to you, because it's much more powerful than, I give you a starting point, things that I wrote, but use that to get to a point where you discover these individual aspects of yourself, because the creative aspects, the gifts that we each hold, the beauty in that is we're billions of people on this planet, but we are so individualized. We're individual flames of the one flame of God. And the beauty is the rich tapestry of the individualization. Like, your answers are not my answers. Your truth is not my truth. You're so individual, and you're so beautiful in your own way. So I invite you to discover these things. So when you start working with the blue flame, you're starting to align with God's will. you're starting to open up to God's will and letting that work in your life. So we could do a quick guided meditation. This is a very straightforward, it's called golden ball meditation, right? So you're going to put your hands together in like a prayer position at your heart center. And you're just going to visualize this golden effervescent light. It's like a shaft of light that runs from your heart all the way up through your head and up above your head, maybe about 3 feet. And as the shaft of light gets to 3 feet, it just forms this golden sun, this radiant sun. And as you're visualizing this golden ball, you can ask the Holy Spirit questions, right? So you're now connected in this shaft of light, this golden light. So you can begin asking these questions. Holy Spirit, who am I? Holy Spirit, show me the truth. Increment by increment, show me creative aspects of myself that I may not have known or that I've forgotten. Show me where I may find divine victory, where I may find these golden nuggets of divine wisdom. And again, you're breathing nice and evenly from your abdomen. And you can place your tongue at the top of the roof of your mouth, right? So when you place the tongue at the roof of your mouth, you're creating this connection between your heart and your mind. For your tongue is the second organ that's born when you're born into this world. So your tongue can connect your heart and your mind and bring your mind under the direction of the heart, which knows the truth. So that's a very quick way that you could just set your intention, set your visualization, bring these color codes. Like the gold is the crystalline Christ energy. It's that truth where you can connect to the Holy Spirit. So when you begin working with these, increment by increment, they gather more power in your life.
All of that was I just bathed in the energy. And that's also what people who take this journey, maybe not at first, like you even said in the beginning, it is, you have to get the ball rolling. You have to, start gathering the snowflakes. For people who don't have this as a practice, it just, you start engaging a willingness, right, to kind of make an appointment with yourself where you're going to show up and you're going to give this to yourself every day. And it doesn't take hours. This can be a matter of minutes. But when we make time, it's amazing when I make time to nurture my spirit, to connect with my presence each day. There's more of me. I can't explain it, but there's something like my energy field expands. And through my day, I feel like I'm more capable, I'm more nurtured, I have more sustenance, I have more energy, I have more life force when we give time and we nurture this connection. And that's another thing I guess I was feeling too, is it's an intention for communication. Like, right, many people may practice all kinds of religion, but not everybody in their spiritual or religious practices has the expectation that they're going to be in communication and conversation, right? That they actually might receive inspiration from that connection. And that's when you're saying, have your notebook ready, have some way, because I'm the same way. I'm still, I won't scare everybody by showing you my desk, but I have notes everywhere, because when you're connected like this, ideas and inspiration and energy and just joy is coming a lot of my day now. Now, I've been cultivating this for some time, but if I think back to before I began this process, before I had a spiritual practice, before I understood what you're describing in the pyramid of presence and asking to connect with this deeper part of myself, I always had an energy, but it wasn't, boy, I don't know if that I've ever used the word, but concentrated. it was never gathered together. It was diffuse in a way. So I wasn't able to direct my energy purposefully like I can now. So there is this sort of also this gathering of our energy that can be more purposeful in our lives. And that's how you can see some people. I mean, we all know that there are people in their gifts, when they're in their talents, we can enter the zone. You see athletes do it and they make this amazing shot, or, you know, they run in a way that just, they run like the wind and they just get in this space with themselves where everything is aligning and wiring and firing together in this beautiful way. But, you know, outside of even just that athletic energy or that kind of being in the zone, something happens when we do start to gather our energy, and our intention is to live purposefully. Our intention is to live this experience of a richer meaning in our life versus going through the motions of life. It's a very different experience of life, isn't it, when you cultivate this kind of connection?
Yeah, it's like an upgrade, right? So you speak about like storing energy. You absolutely do. You can gather energy and you can store it, and then it jumps into use when it's needed, right? So you have this energy, but that comes from a refinement process, a daily refinement process. And you spoke earlier about these things which come up, right? That may not be quote unquote good, or they don't feel great. These things, these aspects that come up, they're desiring resolution, they're desiring refinement. And that's one of the pyramids of presence that I walk people through. When you get to a certain point where you're comfortable working with the energy, so you go from ask, be, you learn to sit with yourself, you learn to activate um, yourself through meditation, through spoken word visualization. And then you get to a certain point where you're like, you're ready to start cleaning these things up, right? You want to go in and you want to scrub some of these things which, you know, plague you. They keep popping up here and there. A thought, maybe it's a nagging thought about yourself, maybe it's a thought like I'm not worthy or something like that, where you can work with the violet flame. As the violet flame of transmutation, when we're talking about alchemy, you can bring these up in either a visualization of the word. You can see, how do I feel when this comes up, right? And then you can start applying this color, violet, to these situations. Like as you're visualizing this situation where you had that impulse, I'm not worthy, I am not worthy. You have that in your atmosphere around you. So now you're seeing those words bathed in violet. You're breathing into it. You're bringing your conscious awareness into it. You're using your tool of conscious breathing. You're bringing life, prana, into it. So you could breathe up into that sentence that you have out laid before you, and let the violet flame work, because that is the characteristic that it carries, to be able to transmute these lower energies that keep us stuck in repetition, keep us stuck in repetitive patterns that sort of block you from opening to the grander aspects of yourself. So that's one of the pyramids of presence along the journey. And there's many different aspects that I walk people through in each pyramid, but the clean is a very profound one, because you really get into these energetic places where thoughts or energetic patterns may lodge in your body, right? So when you focus your energy at these places where you know there's a little bit of discord here, maybe my knee hurts every day. I feel my knee hurt. There's something there. Yes, it may be a physical, it may be purely physical, and that's for you to kind of get in and discern: is it physical or is it metaphysical? Maybe it's a combination of both.
Right.
But you can start applying the flames there, right? So your hands are very powerful tools for healing. And you speak about Reiki healing. It's all channeling through your hands. And you had these masters of the old, of history, where they lay hands on people because they know their connection with God, and they're channeling that energy through their hands. So if you have an ache in your knee, lay your hands on your knee softly and just allow yourself to be and let the energy flow. There's really nothing you need to do. The only thing that I like to do is, as part of my fast system of healing, which I developed, that's going to be for another podcast for sure, but work with the green flame of healing and manifestation. So you can, as you're laying your hands on your knee, you could just imagine that there's this green energy coming from your hands and it's just bathing your knee. So you're infusing this color code energy, which is pure healing energy, and you're just sitting with that. And then there's not much more you need to do. The only refinement is being more present in that moment. Can you just hold your hands here, see that color, breathe, and not allow your mind to wander? That's a big part of hands-on healing, is not allowing your mind to wander, not allowing yourself to get distracted, and really just be. That's why I call it the pyramid of presence, because presence heals all. Presence is pure love, pure light. So when you can allow yourself to have that full presence, then miracles happen.
It's true. And I think our world today, in many ways, our modern world is set up to be so distracting. There's so many distractions that call us away from the center point of this presence inside us. And yet, like you said, and just feeling those colors, bringing awareness to those colors and calling that to you. For some people, they're going to say, what, I'm going to heal with some colors, because they haven't been on the journey. There are some people who will listen to this and they know when you're tapped into that this is an energetic universe, that we understand that we do. With our awareness, healing happens. When we bring the light of our attention and our intention, we are becoming conscious creators, and we can be conscious healers as well, right?
Yeah.
And so we are a divinity tool. Like, we are a conduit of this energy. And like you said, when healers, in indigenous realms, and certainly in more ancient times, when we weren't so distracted like the modern world is, they knew that their hands, that light and energy could come through them, that they could be the conduits of knowing this wellness, this joy, this peace, this ease, whatever it was, for another who in some way was more vulnerable, or they needed this healing energy in a way that they couldn't access. We activate another. I mean, I don't know much about Reiki. I know it's an energy healing, but it was really beautiful how you described it, that it was that powerful, but that simple as well, is that you're bringing your awareness to that in this way.
It's that act of surrender. These words tend to seem like they're opposites, but they're not. They're good friends. Active surrender. So you're being active by using your hands, using your mind, which is a powerful tool when connected with your heart. So active surrender is being active, activating the colors, activating your presence.
Right.
Active surrender. You're holding this position with your hands, with your mind. You're holding that image of the color, but then you're surrendering, right? And that's a hard thing. That's a difficult thing to wrap your head around too, because it took me a while to get to that space. It's really a space of being present and then also not controlling, because when you try to control, you stifle.
Right.
So it's an active participation, but then allowing that flow. Once you cognize that connection, and you could feel it, like what it feels like, you even might ascribe an image to it. You just allow that to flow in you, and you surrender to this energy.
Right. I think that healing, in many ways, of what you just described, is allowing. I mean, allowing is an extended version of the surrender, right? Allowing is allowing ourselves to receive all that we naturally are. And there's a perfection in the universe. There's a perfection in creation. And we in some ways have gotten farther and farther away from that. But it just takes practices like what you're talking about to bring us back, right? It's not hard. It's actually intention, and it's kind of commitment and kind of a dedication to make this a priority in our lives. We make so many things a priority, right? In our daily life. And this is something that's inviting us to prioritize the spirit, to prioritize nurturing our energy and our energy fields, because when our energy's happy, the rest of us is happy. But when we're neglecting and ignoring ourselves as energetic beings, we're inevitably some form of dis-ease or discomfort will show up in our physical bodies. And that's our physical body's way of saying, hey, a little help here, right? I'm lacking the vital nutrients I need that I can only receive at the energetic level, right?
Yeah, and I believe, going back to mind, body, spirit, it's a complete package. It's a wholeness, mind, body, spirit, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, the Trinity. It's all together. It's one complete package of balance,
Right.
and each one's an integral part. So if you waver one too far to the physical side, where you're always looking at your physical body, and you want to have muscles and be have abs, and you're focused completely on that, you're totally missing out on the other spectrum, right? So you want to have that. I believe that's part of what the Buddha spoke when he spoke about the middle path, right? People go too far to one side or too far to the other. The middle path is like right here. I have a balance of my mind, body, and spirit. My mind is at ease because it's being guided by my heart. My body is strong and supple and energetic because I feed it proper nutrients. I do stretches. I do daily walking, things like this that bring you into that state of health. But it is a complete package for sure. And I always laugh when I go into restaurants and I see statues of the Buddha, right? With the big belly.
Right.
And I always say to myself, it's not because he liked to eat crappy food. It wasn't because he ate bad food and put all these sweets and chocolates into his body. It was because the statue is a reminder of proper breathing. His statue is a reminder of breathe from your abdomen. Don't be afraid to let your belly, distend, because when you do that, you're filling that energetic reservoir, which are your chakras. And there's a very important reservoir right below your belly, and that's your sacral chakra, which I spoke about earlier, the violet fire. That's where you can build up this reservoir of violet fire to be able to transmute and bring these things up for healing. So when you're breathing in that deep way, you're letting your belly expand, and then you're breathing out that tension. You're building up your energetic field with every breath, right? And a quote from one of the poetry in my book is, my breath is the winds of change.
Wow.
My breath is the winds of change. You could use that as you're breathing. Just think about those words. My breath are the winds of change. So every breath I take, I'm inviting change in. I'm inviting movement. I'm inviting flow. I'm filling this energetic reservoir within myself so that I could walk this earth in balance and not be reactive, not be thrown off. People get thrown off center by the smallest things. And when you develop that energetic strength, you're not thrown off by these things that are, that may agitate you or may cause you confusion. You see it at a different level because you have that built up energetic reservoir.
So true. People, again, new to this language, new to this experience, these are words, we're exchanging words, but you and I we know that we're not just exchanging words, we're exchanging energy. Like we're connected at a deeper level, and our hearts are connecting with our tongues, that the messages
Yeah.
are coming from that deeper, richer, fuller place inside us. So when we're having a conversation, we're both aware that we're having a much higher level conversation than just the words, that if somebody did a transcript, right, just taking the words out of the energetic context, you might miss the richness of this exchange that's going on between me with my body, my mind, body, spirit, right, this wholeness of me, and the allness of you as well, right? It's a much deeper, richer conversation. And I do believe that is what humanity ultimately is seeking, even if many in humanity don't have the words on their lips to form the questions that their spirit is asking. But through podcasts like these and these kinds of conversations, we can seed into the collective's consciousness that we are asking these questions. We are looking for that belly breathing. We are looking to remember how to connect on this deeper level and how to nurture ourselves energetically, so that more of what plagues our world in the forms of everyday stress and distractions and illness, right? If we would return to what we already know and go on the hero's journey to collect the treasure, and the treasure is us, finding these treasures within. And I actually, I'm not quite sure if this totally dovetails with what we were speaking about, what we've spoken about thus far. Today, I see as a foundational conversation. I think we're going to dive deeper into other podcasts, talking more about the ask, be open, surrender, clean, shift, expand, extend. I think I got
Well,
those.
that was good. That was good. That was great that you remembered that perfectly in the order.
So we're gonna dig deeper into that, because there's so many nuggets of wisdom that I know you can share, and I think we will use this as as a guideline, and I would reference it, and at the end of this podcast I'll talk about where people can find you and your work and where they can get access
Great.
to the book, because it's an ally, it's a teacher, it's a mentor. I think you've written it to mentor people in the process, that with their willingness, with their asking, they could open up this book and they could have a lot of the tools of support.
Yeah. Yeah.
There.
You could call it like it would be labeled as like a teaching memoir, right? So it's basically my experience through my life, but it's not autobiographical. It's a translation of the steps that I took on my journey. So I also see it as a manual that people can use this as a manual to walk through these every day and apply them. There's a richness to the text in the book, and there's also tons of visualizations, tons of meditations, affirmations. Just in the I am truth, the blue flame, I give examples of affirmations that people can use, and then you can develop your own affirmations as you go along. So I call this affirmation the call for assistance. Holy Spirit, great messenger and communicator of God's love, wisdom, and power, I call upon you for complete intercession in my life to reveal truth for my own radiant Christ presence. So this aligns with that energy. This aligns with the openness, the asking, and you're affirming that you want to know more. So each one takes you step by step. So I invite people on this journey, and I would be very happy to walk people through direct mentorship if you're interested in that. If you pick up the book and you could walk yourself through the journey.
Yes, I mean, that is something that you do. You have these mentoring services that people can reach out to you, and you work one-on-one, which it's a very wonderful experience to have that support, somebody walking with you in the journey. And also in this, you create a space where people feel safe to be authentic in their process,
Yeah.
right? And that's pretty extraordinary, that people can feel safe to authentically be who and what they are as they go through this alchemization, right? So
And
yeah.
each session with people is personal. It's transformational. you know, you don't always know what to expect. There's things that happen, healings and beautiful things, messages, communication, and I really do. Every session that I have with somebody, it's, you can note the correlation between communication and communion, the very similarity between those two words, because when we're connected in total presence and I'm giving you my devoted presence fully and I'm activated and I'm connected, we're working together in a symbiotic relationship. We're working together, we're communing, we're in communion, we're in communication at a level that we're not normally familiar with. So it's this divine communication and this intelligence. It's really an intelligence that comes through, that we allow to work with these messages, to work with the energies that come through, these impulses, and people, these are catalysts for people in their life. You know, it really does propel you forward when you work with this energy.
Yeah. Well, I want to read something. I was thinking I would read this in the beginning, but I feel called at least to read it here now. This is from, I think it's the introduction in your book, but you say that in the co-creation of our human self with our immense self, or what we will be referring to often as the I am presence, is where we can make true strides in our evolution from human to homo luminous, or the illumined human. In deep seeking, we can rise to even greater heights of attainment, taking steps to break through the self-perceived and erected walls of misperceptions, to rekindle each day lasting satisfaction, to satiate the burning desires we hold inside, beckoning us at every turn to remember to truly know thyself. These steps are broken down into easy to follow sections in chapter 6. They involve, in essence, an 8-step process of the following: to ask, be, open, surrender, clean, shift, expand, and extend. The culmination of the process is in extension, that is, to go beyond what was previously thought possible, to clarify your vision in every way, to be able to see and recognize higher love, and to embody this love through renewed daily commitment to the laws of creation. And that one paragraph, I just could feel the truth, the integrity, the presence, the consciousness that you bring to this body of work that came through as inspiration for you in your journey. And I think that's also what people do in the language of what we use here at the Whole Soul School and Foundation, is the rising hero's journey, is that you go on your own journey. And then when you get almost full circle, as you come around that arc, you want to give the gifts of what you learned, the gems, the treasures that you collected in your journey. And this compilation of what you've put together, of all these insights and energies and the flow of this process that you've put together in this book is extraordinary. And I've read different parcels of energy in your book, because it is a full experience, right? But for those seeking, it is another powerful tool to have as an ally in your journey. And I remember in the very beginning of my awakening journey, that's exactly what I went to. Is I went to the teachers before me who transcended the things that I was working to transcend. And there you gather strength in that kind of collective communion energy. They can work with you one-on-one, right, through coaching and mentoring. And complementary to that, they have the book in their hands where it's like you speaking to their heart and their soul. And what we're ultimately seeking is a harmonic health and wealth and well-being inside ourselves. You were talking about the balance, the middle path, the middle way, right? We want this harmonic where everything inside us in harmony. And whoa, I think if we look at the external world, I don't think we would use those words, a world in harmony, right? But as individuals seek it, and then they seek the teachers who are models and illustrators and empowerers of it, It's not to say, and I say this a lot in my messages on my other channel and also in the other podcasts I'm involved in, it doesn't mean that you and I are immune to challenge.
Oh, not at all.
That's not what life is. It's not trying to get to a level of enlightenment so that you never have any challenges in your path, because we're always expanding, right? And I think creation is designed to invite us in this infinite way to grow beyond what we have become, right? To expand into newer and newer versions of ourselves. But when we have these tools to walk with us in that journey, then challenges become opportunities, right?
Yes.
Unexpecteds become adventures. And you start to see your life as this is exactly what creation is. It's not a mistake what's happening in my life. It's actually perfectly what's supposed to be happening in my life. And I still have that, even when I have unexpecteds that are unpleasant or challenging. I know, oh, we're about to go on a journey here. And I call in my tools and I go to first preparation, which for you and for me is, we start with the breath. And people are learning this. That will become, I think, a part of our conversation in more of these podcasts. The breath is very, very important, because that's your first empowerment. That's seeding inside you the positive possibilities that you're summoning into your life. Yeah, very powerful.
Yeah, very, very powerful. The word harmonic convergence, when you were speaking of harmony and balance, harmonic convergence of mind, body, and spirit into one. But yeah, it's as far as like the challenges, everyday life, the outer world, speaking of big events, speaking of small things that you have in your daily life, it's a matter of how do you show up? How do you navigate that? Do you navigate that in groundedness and presence, or are you reacting to it in a way that's throwing you out of balance? And it just takes sometimes just taking a step back, taking a breath, being able to witness, hey, this just happened. But as you said, it's an opportunity for me to, to heal something, just to see something that maybe keeps coming back for me, and an opportunity to refine myself, refine myself to be able to step into these grander aspects of presence.
I do like you've used that word a couple times. I've heard you say that, refinement. There's a beautiful energy to that. It's more graceful, even when we don't think even if we feel like we're a bull in a china shop in our lives sometimes, right? There is this refinement process happening, especially if you allow it, especially if you are consciously knowing that this is the process and it is purposeful. There's a purpose in our presence, right? There's a purpose in the process. Everything in our lives becomes meaningful once you start living from the awareness of energy, and this being a living universe. And this is critical to our mind, body, spirit fitness. So, I always like to bring these conversations and awareness back to the level of this presence, to the level of the breath, to understanding that we are energetic beings having energetic experiences, and this is an energetic evolution. And for those that can embrace the possibility that we may live life after life, that we have these reincarnation cycles. Our bodies, we have them for a time and we release them, but our spirit and our soul essence is eternal. And that is what is ever expanding. And I think it's just such a joy for me to be in conversations with beautiful souls like you, where we are bringing that back into the heart of humanity's awareness, into our own awareness, and then sharing that with other people who are seeking this truth for themselves. And we're not inviting people for them to know my truth or your truth, right? But a much more eternal truth, and to tap into their unique soul presence that experiences truth and light in the way that they do. And this harmony that we're all seeking, this peace, I think. Yeah.
Well, we're not teaching replication or repetition. We're teaching how to tap into your own power, your own essence, to get familiar with it, and to walk in this presence of yourself every day. That's where the true empowerment is. It's not in reciting things over and over again, It's not in repetition, replication, not trying to copy anybody. It's finding your own inner truth because it's individual and it's magnificent.
Mm.
It's personal. It's everybody's presence is an individual flame of the one God presence.
That's so beautiful. Well, that might be a good point to round out our conversation today. And we've seated in consciousness these pyramids of presence, and there's a depth and a breadth to each one of them. And we will likely even talk further about the ask pyramid, but each one of these is a gateway into going deeper into yourself and knowing thyself, right? Knowing ourselves deeper. So Jonathan, where can people find you if they wanted to reach out to you?
So you could find me at alchemicalaccelerations.com. You can find me Facebook and Instagram, JW space alchemical.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. Yes. So anybody that's interested, a lot of times when we find the courage to say, yes, I want to dip my toes in the water. Yes, I want to step into the path. I've been craving something more. And here's this podcast. It is always empowering to know that there are teachers and mentors and guides. And if you ask for the right mentor, the next, most aligned mentor for your highest good, they do come. And we are becoming these conscious creators. So if you resonate with this conversation and you resonate with the things that Jonathan and I are talking about and his work in pyramids of presence, and I know we'll talk about the fast system of healing as well another time. But there's just, many nuggets of beautiful soul enriching and, harmonizing tools inside ourselves for self-understanding and really self-discovery, because that's what this is. We're discovering ourselves deeper and deeper in this journey. So I want to thank our listeners for joining us and Mind, Body, Spirit, Fitness. And thank you, Jonathan, for joining me. And I look forward to welcoming you back and delving deeper, because that's what we're going to do. We're going to dig deeper into some of these things and share more in where people can see the energy moving, because that's where it really comes to life. You can hear somebody talking about it, but when you're experiencing a meditation in a podcast or something, you're experiencing the flow of this energy with us. So thank you for joining us. You can find us on our website at wholesoulschoolandfoundation.org. And you can find us on all of your favorite social media platforms, either at Whole Soul School or Whole Soul School and Foundation. Blessings, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Blessings. Namaste. Thank you.